And we're going to be streaming this live to Facebook, if you just bear with me for 1 second. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. This is our roundtable on the Providence Rescue Plan for Large Business Roundtable discussion. We have an excellent panel here for you. We have an excellent crowd here with us tonight. First person I would like to introduce is Oscar Mejias, but actually before I do that, I also want to make sure everyone aware that interpretation is available tonight, and we're going to be turning that on shortly. Just now, as I turn that on, you'll see in the lower right-hand corner a box pop up. Make sure you join one of those boxes. If you fail to join, there's a very good chance that you're going to miss something. So please make sure that you have joined one of those. Okay, so that box should have popped up. Everyone should choose one of those options. And at this point, I'd like to introduce Oscar Mejias to take it over from here.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. My name is Oscar Mejias. I am the co-chair of the City of Providence COVID-19 Resilience and Recovery Task Force. Welcome all of you, and thank you for taking the time to participate in this activity. We have, as part of the agenda, a brief overview, okay, that we have talking about the American Rescue Plan and what is the process that we are following. And I want to invite Mira Liviso to give us the information.
Thanks, Oscar. Hi, my name is Mara Levizo. I'm a consultant at Systems Change Strategy, working with the City of Providence and the task force on this project. I may throw it over to the mayor, though, to do an introduction first, because I believe he has another event related to this immediately afterward, Mr. Mayor, if that is correct.
Yes, thank you. I am about to go canvassing for some COVID and ARPA stuff. So I just wanted to pop in very quickly and say thank you to all the businesses for being a part of this conversation. You know, we really do have a once in a lifetime opportunity. We want to make sure that we take your input into account. So we appreciate your time. We appreciate the work we do. And we want to make sure that these investments are responsive to your urgent and long-term needs. Thanks again, everybody. And you're in very good hands with the team. And I look forward to hearing about the conversation we have today. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. So again, my name is Mara. I am just going to do a brief screen share with a very brief overview of the ARPA. So let me do that. Okay, so I'm not going to go over every single slide in detail because this one was made a little bit more specifically for the general public. So I'm going to stick to things that are a little more relevant to the business community, if that's okay with all of you, so we can get into this important conversation. So Providence and the American Rescue Plan, there she is. So this was passed in March of 2021, specifically to speed up the United States recovery from the economic and health effects of COVID-19 pandemic, and of course the ongoing recession, which is what we are all here to address tonight. I'm going to skip these details. So what does this mean for Rhode Island? The total amount that Rhode Island is getting for all of the fiscal recovery fund is about $540 million. Oops, beg your pardon. 130 billion for the entire country. So Providence, the 540, I'm gonna go back. That is with state allocation, the city of Providence, the municipality, and a little bit of county level allocation is coming to about 165.8 million just for the city of Providence. So that's the money we're going to be talking about and working with tonight. And again, for the general public, we let them know that the school district also has their own pot of money. So when we're talking about priorities, we're not ignoring schools. They've got another pot of money and another strategy that they're working with. So the ARPA municipal money is remarkably flexible. So we can design programming in many different ways. However, it does have to specifically address COVID-19's health emergency, premium pay to essential workers, public services that have been cut, and infrastructure investments in water, sewer, and broadband only. Other infrastructure needs cannot really be used in compliance with this money here. Oh yes, very important. And they cannot be used for tax cuts or pension fund contributions. That's one thing it's very specific about. Like I said, it is flexible, but it's very specific, and there's a lot of compliance around not being able to use that for tax cuts or pensions, which of course both need money, but that is one of the restrictions on it. So 42 million of this has already been allocated via a public finance meeting through City Council. And that was to address immediate needs for Providence. So some of that was for revenue renew because of all the lost tax revenue, summer program, anti-violence initiatives, COVID response, things that were deemed very urgent to get that money out the door as soon as possible. After that, the task force was created. It was spearheaded by Councilwoman Nerva LaFortune to bring together a community process to decide how to best allocate the rest of these funds. And that is what this event has come out of. Oscar is one of the co-chairs along with Angie Ancoma. And they will be making recommendations to City Council in October. So this is coming up pretty quickly. One of the events, we've had several events with community partners. We have another one tomorrow night hosted by Arise and the South Providence Neighborhood Association, if you'd like to double dip and come to another event. And then we did a roundtable specifically for small businesses. And then tonight, of course, we're here for the anchor businesses. Also, and I'll finish with this, take this survey. We have a survey online that asks what your priorities are for spending this money. We have an individuals in business portion of the survey and one for organizations that can put in more detailed proposals. So there is a way to do that online. The surveys are available in 5 languages. And thank you. That's what the last slide says. So I will put up in the chat as well links to the survey, links to the website, and all the other places you can go to get involved. And now I will pass it back off to Oscar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mira. Okay, so as Mira explained a few minutes ago, the main goal of this task force is collect information and present a report of recommendation to help the city to do the best allocation of the funding that is coming from the ARP Act. So if for that reason, we have opened different spaces. We have the survey, which we want to invite you and encourage you not just answer the survey, but send it to the people that you think could have a good opinion or give us information about the top priorities or how the COVID-19 have impacted our life. So we want to hear from you. Every opinion matters. For us, everything will be important and will be taken in consideration in order to prepare the report. We have opened several conversation space with community, with two community conversation, the roundtable with the small business. And today we have a special guest. Today is an anchor roundtable which is really, really important for us to hear from the Hospitality Association, for the UNAP, the United Nurse and Allied Professionals Union, and of course, in the side of technology coming from Tech Collective. But before I start, I would like to introduce our task force member, Christine Adamo, who is President and CEO of the Providence Whirlwind Convention and Visitors Bureau. Christine?
Thank you, Oscar. I apologize for my voice. I'm a little bit under the weather, but I don't expect to talk very long because I'm really here to listen. I'm so honored to represent the tourism and by extension, our creative economies because they're so intertwined on this task force. For the past year and a half, we've been doing what I like to call triage, which is we've tried to save our most vital assets and preserve them, whether it be our hotels, our arts organizations, our restaurants, because these are the things that make Providence really unique. And as my friend Sarah Bracco will tell you as she goes forward, this has been catastrophic. Hotels in Providence lost 70% of their revenue in 2020. And the meetings and conventions that my organization booked, as of right now, we've lost $77 million in direct spending that comes into the state of Rhode Island because of events that have been canceled or postponed. So for us, this ARPA funding is really an opportunity to build back and build back smartly and build back strongly and invest in the things that make us special and different. And so I know what I think about all of these things, but as a task force member, my job tonight is to really listen to all of you and see how you think we can build back our tourism, hospitality, arts, creative economy, because you can't be the creative capital if you don't have these things. So I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you and what you have to say.
Thank you, Kristen, and thank you for all your hard work to help the community. So the structure of the meeting today, we will have 3 panelists, as I mentioned before. At the end of the meeting, in the last session, we want to open the mic for all of you that want to intervene and give us your opinion, your ideas, your suggestion. Again, every opinion matters. All of you are important, and we want your help to have a very good supported group of recommendations for the city. So let's start inviting our first panelist, who is Sarah Bradco. She is Senior Vice President of Advocacy and General Counsel, the Rhode Island Hospitality Association, and she will speak about the impact that the COVID-19 had to the hospitality and tourism industry in Rhode Island State. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Oscar. And, you know, Oscar and Kristen have been such wonderful partners for us. I don't know when Kristen Adamo sleeps. It's usually the time, it must be when we sleep in my office, because we've gone through it together over the last 18 months, and Oscar has been there right there alongside us. So, you know, as we look back on the good things that came out of COVID, which we're big believers in my office, it's the partnerships that we built along the way. So let me just share my screen so I can kind of go through this. It will come to no surprise to, I think, anybody that the last 18 months hasn't been the best time to work in the hospitality industry. It's been hard. It's been very challenging. Just a little bit of background about who we are and who I am. The Hospitality Association, we are actually 2 separate organizations. The first is a 501c6, which is the traditional trade association. It's where we run all of our advocacy and membership services. But we also have a separate 501c3 that provides a significant amount of training and support to hospitality professionals, including housing our newly launched employee relief fund that we launched in April of 2020. Throughout everything that we do, there is what we consider a culture of community. And when we think about at the essence of what it is that Rhode Island hospitality provides, we provide kind of the nexus of a community for the industry, We're where people come together. We are where they get their information, and we connect the people that need to be connected. As I stated at the beginning of this, COVID has really given us a run for our money. In 2019, we were one of the top 5 industries in the state. We, in just that 1 year, collected almost $300 million just in the sales tax, meals and beverage, and hotel tax. That doesn't talk about, the massive amount of property taxes that we pay, income tax that are derived from our employees, any of the other things that we provide to the economy. Fast forward to 2020, restaurants lost almost $240 billion in sales just in the year of 2020. When we start talking about these numbers, they're so big that when we look over the full year, the overall economic impact, it's a $2.2 billion impact on the industry just in 2020. In 2021, things have improved a little bit, but they're still obviously very difficult. Nationwide, hotels are going to finish down almost $60 billion in business travel revenue. Rhode Island is expected to lose just over $100 million in business travel. Nationwide, restaurant sales are predicted to be at almost $110 billion lower than what's predicted in 2020. And we're still down $2.2 million in our meals and beverage tax. These numbers are huge. And it's a little crazy sometimes to be talking about millions and billions in such a everyday use, but it really goes to show the outsized impact that the hospitality industry has on Rhode Island's economy. Workforce-wise, it wasn't great. Pre-COVID, we employed almost 86,000 people. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2020, the hospitality and leisure industry lost as many jobs as construction, government, manufacturing, retail, education, and health services combined. In Rhode Island, 96% of Rhode Island operators were forced to lay off their employees, and over 36,000 people lost their jobs virtually overnight. I was on some of those calls when employees were finding out that they were being laid off because the business was shut down. We had no idea when we were going to reopen. We had no idea what the industry was going to look like when we reopened. And I think I speak for everybody in the industry. Of April and May of 2020 were a really, really dark time for a lot of people in our industry. Fast forward to 2021, and we have almost the opposite problem. Finding and retaining employees has become the top challenge facing the industry. We are facing an unprecedented workforce shortage in this, not just in Rhode Island, but nationwide. We had hotels in Newport that had the business to operate at 110 or 110% really, and they were operating at 60% because they simply didn't have the staff to clean their rooms. You're seeing restaurants close down for lunch shifts, they're closing early, and it's really all related to the staffing. There's a couple of different reasons behind that. A large part of it is in our more seasonal areas in Newport, South County, Block Island. They depend on labor coming in from foreign countries under the H-2B visas and J-1 visas that have largely been stopped because of the travel bans. People's priorities changed. Transportation, childcare, all of these things have gotten harder during COVID, and that obviously plays into the workforce shortage. Labor costs are up 5.1%. So, I could go on all day about what we did and where we're going, but at the end of the day, the question that we get is, where are we going? What's next? The key part of this, however, is there has been a good amount of help given specifically to the restaurant industry, but that does not mean that it's without its flaws. The Restaurant Revitalization Fund, it used to be called Recovery Fund, and I much preferred that because it's easier to say and spell. This was an innovative program that was meant to replace lost revenue for restaurants. The Congress allocated $28 billion, which sounds an awful lot of money. Only 22% of Rhode Island restaurants were able to receive funding. This has caused absolute chaos in the industry, absolute chaos, because one restaurant got funding and the other didn't. And it's basically like the government picked winners and losers according to some arbitrary scale. There was a last minute lawsuit that kind of changed the way that the money was going to be allocated. It excluded hotels and tourist business and other hospitality businesses. And so the RRF, which is such a strong, great program, has actually caused a lot of damage to the industry, much more so than obviously what was envisioned when they came up with the program. Hotels, I would be remiss if I didn't address them, have been largely locked out of almost all funding, whether it be on the federal or state level, partially because they're so big. But the challenge that we run into is, yes, many of them are big businesses, but that means they employ a lot of people. They have lost almost their entire revenue. When you look at the amount of revenue that they have lost, it's staggering. And the cost to keep a hotel running, one hotel was sharing with me, his mortgage alone is $300,000 a month. So when you have no business for a year, and when we say no business, we mean literally zero revenue coming in, it means that there's a lot of hard decisions that these hotels are making. So what do we need? We are facing some pretty significant reopening challenges. Consumer confidence is always a topic of conversation. Staffing shortages, as I mentioned, have become a significant challenge in the short-term future. We don't know what's next. We were all prepared for 2021 to be a banner year, and then Delta came along. And so when you look at, on the hotel side, they had a really terrible first quarter, a good second quarter, a great third quarter, and the fourth quarter is bad. So we don't know. We don't know where the pandemic is going. We don't know where travel and business is going. And operational costs are hard. They are rising. They are becoming more difficult. The supply chain in the country for food and goods is completely broken down. And so on top of trying to rebuild and replace lost revenue from 2020, businesses are reopening into a much more unstable economy and a much more unstable environment that they were prior to the pandemic. So what do we need? We need the federal government to step up and do its job. We need programs like the Save Hotel Jobs Act and the RRF replenishment to help these businesses replace their lost revenue. When you look at how much revenue needs to be replaced in Rhode Island, just for restaurants alone, remember 22% of Rhode Island restaurants got RRF funding. In order to get that to 100%, it will require $208 million. It's a big ask, but it also highlights just how much money was lost in this industry. And quite honestly, just how much of Rhode Island's economy was lost, because you don't rebuild Rhode Island's economy until you rebuild the hospitality industry, because we are Rhode Island's economy. We need cities to continue doing their outdoor dining expansion programs. We need them to make it easy and continue to make it easy for restaurants to do outdoor dining. Providence has done a great job on this. Pre-COVID, Providence was not an easy town to do outdoor dining, and it was reflected. We really didn't have a great outdoor dining scene. During the pandemic, when they said we're going to open just for outdoor dining, we were like, oh God, this is going to be a nightmare. But Providence stepped up. They made it really easy. And you see this whole new industry of outdoor dining that we want to keep, not just because consumers like it, but because it provides valuable revenue in a really safe way. Ventilation upgrades. If there's one thing that businesses need, particularly restaurants and hotels, it's upgrades to their ventilation systems. We have learned a lot about COVID. I've learned more about droplets and aerosol spray and disgusting things I never wanted to learn about. We need to upgrade how we do ventilation in these public spaces, but it's very expensive, particularly when you're looking at environments that have older buildings like we see in Providence. So things like upgrading HVAC systems, upgrading ventilation systems are going to provide a really essential component moving forward. So I could go on all day long, but I will spare all of you from that. But if you do have any questions, here's my contact information. And we are really looking forward to the challenge of getting our industry back up to where it needs to be, but it is definitely an uphill battle. And we are really looking at the ARP funding as a once in a lifetime opportunity, not just to rebuild, but to build back a stronger hospitality industry that hopefully has a little bit more leeway, just in case, God forbid, this ever happens again. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Thank you, Sarah. All of us have witnessed the high negative impact of the COVID-19 in the hospitality industry. So we appreciate your input. Thank you very much. I want to remind to the attendee that at the end, we will have a public comment session. So feel free to ask questions or even give us your opinion. Let's continue with the agenda. We want to invite now, I want to introduce Lynn Blaze from UNAP, the United Nurses and Allied Professional Union, that represent the healthcare workers in many area hospital and organization. Lynn will speak to how the COVID-19 impacted the healthcare industry and all the frontline healthcare workforce. So thank you, Lynn, for taking the time to participate in this roundtable.
Oh, thank you, Oscar, for inviting me to participate. So just for those that don't know, United Nurses and Allied Professionals, we represent all healthcare workers. We represent service and maintenance workers up to the professional staff inside hospitals. And we have staff everywhere from Westerly to Woonsocket. But in Providence, we represent the nurses at Rhode Island Hospital, as well as the technical employees. And I'm sure you can imagine COVID-19 has impacted the healthcare industry like nothing else ever has. I've been a registered nurse for 37 years and have never experienced a pandemic or an issue like this. Our workers got up every day, went to work, caring for the sickest of the sick in a system that wasn't prepared to take on a pandemic. We struggled with PPE equipment. We struggled with having appropriate rooms and isolation and ventilation, restrictions of visitors and caring for patients at the end of their life when their family can't come to see them. So as you can imagine, it's created a stressor on all people that work in the healthcare system. And right now we face the struggle of losing more and more healthcare workers. As well. We have those that have aged out and decided retirement is their best option. We have those that have burnt out, that can't face another day in the healthcare industry and have decided to leave. So when I was asked to join and to come on to the panel, I'm thinking to myself, what is it that I would like to see of the money that the city of Providence has and how it could help the healthcare industry, as well as the citizens of Providence. I would love to see this money used or put into a program that would develop a workforce to take the citizens of Providence, give them the training, the education, the experience that they might need to enter the healthcare industry. It would give them the financial stability that they need, a job that will carry them on for years to come, in an industry that we all love. I wouldn't have been doing it for 37 years if it wasn't a calling or a passion. So I know it's brief as far as what I have to offer to this table, but I would really love to see a program that develops something where we can bring more people into the industry, anywhere from registered nurse programs, CNAs, medical assistants, phlebotomies, x-ray techs. We have probably the highest vacancy rate in the healthcare industry that we haven't had in probably 30 or 40 years. So it's a great opportunity to provide that financial security to the citizens of Providence. So that would be my ask, and I'll be happy at the end to answer questions that people may have for us.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you very much. And thank you to you and to the frontline worker for the great job. Has been incredible all those last 18 months. So thank you very much. I want to remind you that all the information about the task force, the meetings that we have every Friday at noon at the City Hall in Providence, all the information that you want related to this work that the task force has been doing, you can find it in the website, and that will be in the chat at pvdrescueplan.com, and we will have it in the chat. So please visit the website, fill out the survey, and you can review the recording of the other meetings, so you can have more and more information. Now, to continue with the agenda, I want to introduce Rosa Michelazzo. She is the Executive Director of the Tech Collective, the technology hub for Rhode Island that partner across industries and sectors to connect and enrich the technology sector and workforce. Technology has been the savior for a group of business, but for others has been a need very, very growing during the pandemic. So thank you, Creusa, for coming. It's all yours.
Thank you, Oscar, very much. So I am here representing Tech Collective, and I think I want to talk about Tech Collective as a stakeholder of technology, not just the Technology IT Association, which is what we are. But I think COVID had a huge impact on everybody, but the underlying equalizer, or what we thought would be the equalizer, would be technology, right? When everyone said, let's go remote, we recognized what was missing. And I think it made it very clear the advantages that some people had, the accessibility to technology, the technology access that some people had that others did. So when we all thought a solution would be just go remote, we never thought people did not have access to what we thought it was an access like we all thought everyone had. We recognized very quickly that our member companies wanted to help those who lack access to technology, and how they could help became a struggle, right? We needed education, how to access technology, how to use the broadband, how to educate the people using the technology, and which language the technology is going to be shared with the community. And how would the technology be given to those in need? Where and who are those that need the technology? Oh, everybody, from parent, guardians, school departments, universities, nurses, and everyone within our industry and our member community recognized that the impact of the technology was lacking, and the accessibility and the education part that was not implemented. We also have to recognize that we went into 2020, we've advanced technology where it's supposed to happen in 15 years, we did it in a few months. So we became vulnerable, we didn't know what we were doing, we all adapted so quickly because we had to, without knowing what the consequences of those access were going to be. No one was ready for this. So what I'm here to ask is, let's recognize that technology and broadband needs to be accessed for everybody, not just a certain few. That the training that must be provided for the users, the practitioners, the small business, the micro businesses, the parent and guardians, and every other community that uses technology, which means everybody. And the third that I would like to do is recognize that our partnership with all of you that are using technology right now, we're all on a Zoom call. We've adapted very quickly. What else can we do now to ensure that this transition in technology and this evolution continue to be done right, in a way that is protected, and in a way that continue to impact everyone positively as we move ahead? Thank you, Oscar.
Thank you, Creusa. Thank you for your input. As we inform, I want to say thank you again to Sarah and Lynn and Creusa for your participation. And now we want to open to the public comment. We want to be clear that, again, every opinion will be respected, will be accepted, and we be taken in consideration. We want to moderate the discussion, and we want to open the space for whoever wants to intervene. We have enough time. We have around 20 minutes, so please feel free to raise your hand following the reaction button in the Zoom in your screen. The space is open for public comments or questions. Okay, we are putting the indications in the chat, so please, how to raise your hand.
So I'm going to go and see technology, right? We all need to learn how to use it and how to use it right. I didn't know where the reaction was on Zoom because it's not the tool that I use the most.
Okay. So you can raise your hand in the reaction portion.
I see Joshua Miller's hand.
Hi,
I'd like to
sure. So I'm Josh Miller. I've done a lot of things over the years. I've owned a restaurant or nightclubs in downtown Providence for almost 40 years. Also a state senator, and I was recently elected chair of the Downtown Improvement District. Those of you who aren't familiar with the Downtown Improvement District, if you see yellow jackets in the core of downtown, the clean and safe team, that's over half of our budget. And then we are also involved in promoting downtown. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the impact that downtown has and how it leads the state or lags the state in recovery, if you're talking about COVID, I think it's really important when you look at where to spend resources that you understand why downtown Providence would be an important place to start and an important place to spend a significant amount of ARPA or any funds. And it's not only to help rescue arts and culture, which it's the hub for, or a majority of, or a good majority of the hotels that were injured by COVID-19, but also a significant amount of restaurants that were injured by it. And another phenomena that we've been working on in the Downtown Improvement District and those who are downtown stakeholders is a tremendous amount of social services that are needed for those who gather downtown. And people come not only for statewide to go to the Dunkin' Donuts Center or PPAC, but people come statewide who are seriously mentally ill, who are suffering from substance use disorder, who are homeless. And so when we look at resources for that population that spends a lot of their day, and they're from all over the state that decide they're going to spend their day in downtown Providence. Downtown Providence is one of the highest rate of overdoses in the state. If you talk to Providence Fire, it's one of the highest rates of response for emergency mental health issues. And so it's important to get the resources to the hotels that are suffering from being in the same environment as those crises, but then trying to recover. And retail that's trying to reopen, and restaurants that are trying to stay open and compete with those who got RRF, as Sarah described. We're open 4 out of 7 days for lunch because we don't have the staff for the other 3 days. We've never been closed any days of the week. We're now closed 1 or 2 days every week because we don't have the staff. And that's not an extreme example. I know a lot of people that are injured more by having not received the recovery funds in order to be able to attract staff. So that gives you an outline of, I think, what downtown Providence is looking at and how it's affected in so many ways. And therefore it should be a recipient of not only social service, but all the services that hotel, arts and culture, and hospitality would need.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. We have the opportunity to hear from other restaurant owners and knife establishment around the city in our past roundtable. For real, it's very critical area, and we will have that in consideration. So thank you, Mr. Miller.
And I see John Zillikin.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Hi, my name is John Zillikin. I'm actually the new Senior General Manager at Providence Place. I've been in town for about 3 months. I moved here from Las Vegas, Nevada. So I'm going to echo a lot of the previous speakers if you thought it was bad here, it was really bad there. But Providence Place, and I want to echo really Joshua's comments. You know, we have taken, our tenants have taken, our guests have taken a huge hit because of all of the COVID reactions by the government. You know, we're connected to the hotels, we're connected to the Dunkin' Donuts Center, the convention center. So we have taken a huge financial hit. And so I will echo Joshua's comments that as far as downtown is concerned, I think that there's certainly a lot of opportunity for upside if it's invested in the downtown area, you know, specifically for Providence Place. And I'm sure a lot of other private businesses are affected as well. You know, we have a lot of things on the drawing board that we could use to attract new tenants, new experiential tenants that would add to the attractiveness of the hotel business and the convention business if we can move forward with that kind of stuff. So whatever we can use, you know, from a selfish standpoint to help on the capital side of things, to improve Francis Street, to improve our garage, to improve ease of access, in addition to outdoor dining. You know, there's some things that we can do on Francis Street to increase the capacity of outdoor dining. So I just wanted to add that and just echo what Josh was saying, that you know, we employ well into 5 figures, and we are having the same challenges that everybody else is. We're retaining and attracting staff for all of our tenants and that kind of thing. So anyway, I'll just echo Josh's comments about the downtown area. Thanks.
Thank you, John. This task force has been working to open different ways how to get information, to get your input in different areas. We are not making any different. We have been working about housing, about transportation, about education, business. So we have in the website, the pvdrescueplan.com.
Okay.
We
Okay.
have a template where
Okay.
you can give us the information. So I want to, Mira, if you could explain a little bit more about those templates.
Sure, absolutely. So I've put the link for this into the chat that lives on the website. And this is, it's not terribly onerous. It's just, if you want to take the survey as an individual, this is the section for organizations, businesses to submit 3 to 5 pages about any kind of detailed proposal you have or a more specific proposal. There aren't strict guidelines or anything. You can give us what you have and we can reach out to you and work with you. And we really just ask a couple of questions. Describe your proposal briefly, and let us know how you are responding to COVID, and sort of an estimate of the demographics of the people your proposal would serve, because the funds are meant to be allocated to people that were hardest hit and industries like a lot of these that are hardest hit by the pandemic. So yeah, and then I've got the link there in the chat if you want to take a look at that. And always feel free to use the email address there to contact us, any questions about anything at all as well.
Thank you, Mira. The other factor to be considered is the timing. The task force should present the first report at the end of October. So we will appreciate if you go to the website and put your information, your proposal as soon as possible. So we can collect the information, do the analysis, and present the recommendation to the City Council at the end of October. So we have a short period of time. So we will appreciate your quickly intervention if you want to present any proposal. Any other question or any input that the present wants to add? remember that we are trying to collect suggestions, ideas, needs. Okay, in any industry, it's not just restricted to the industry that we talk today, hospitality, and the workforce, the healthcare or technology. This is an opportunity for everybody to raise their voice about the needs that are in the community. This is a lifetime opportunity, and we are not working here to present recommendations for solutions in short-time solution. We want to do it in the best way in order to have a solution or proposal with sustainability and with an action plan associated. So we don't want just to say that would be a solution that lasts 3 months. We want to do something that could help us to solve some problem, even if they are structural and the COVID-19 have highlighted those problems. So please feel free to raise your hand and give us your opinion, your comments.
I see Farouk Rajab.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Farouk Rajab. I'm the general manager of the Providence Marriott downtown. And I just wanted to, I'm listening to everybody here, and I want to share a couple of thoughts with everyone. Experiential travel is really a sustainable model. And what I mean by that, I see my friends from Waterfire here on the call, but something along those lines, if you were in Providence this past Saturday, it was a very vibrant city, and it looked great. It looked like we are back, travel is back. But along those lines of experiential travel, we need to enhance our city and improve that concept of experience. People, are not going to come to Providence just to stay at a hotel. There has to be reasons why they come to Providence, and then they stay at a hotel, right? So those ideas, I'm not making, and I'm not suggesting an idea, but that's what you need to be thinking about when you think tourism and hospitality. But workforce development is another thought that, workforce, and I think Sarah touched on that early on in her presentation, where we the hospitality workers are fatigued, and are the ones that left working. I know we lost, I think the number that Sarah shared was 36,000, which is staggering, right, for a small state like ours. But the ones that are left working are fatigued, and if they didn't consider changing industry, they are considering it today because they're working twice as hard. So I think investment into workforce, investment into workforce development. And I, for full disclosure, I also sit on the board of the Rhode Island Hospitality Association, but I don't sit on the board of Rhode Island Education Foundation. And I know that foundation does great work with workforce development. So it might be something that you need to invest in our local residents into developing their skills. And those jobs are always available, and they can always be a great starter on a path to many great careers. I've met many people, and many of you on this call, if I asked you what was your first job, you probably were a dishwasher, a server, a bartender. So those jobs are, they're essential. And we talk about frontline workers. I think of hospitality as a frontline workers that, hotels were considered essential business. They stayed open. They welcomed COVID cases at the beginning, and still we don't know. My room attendants don't know if a guest traveling is healthy or has COVID. So they have to take precaution in working and cleaning those rooms. And we need to continue to develop that workforce and to continue to invest in our residents into the future. So those are my two thoughts that I just wanted to share with the group. Thank you.
Thank you, Farouk. Thank you very much. Anyone else?
You can also just feel free to unmute yourself and pipe up if you don't want to mess with the raising of the hand portion.
Well, I would add to what my hospitality partners are saying, a couple things. One is, I think that when people see hotels like a Marriott or a Hilton, you think they're owned by this like big corporation that's going to save it. And that's not the case. Most of the hotels, particularly in Providence, are locally owned by companies in either Providence or the surrounding area. So when you're investing in hotels, you're investing in local business. And there's been a lot of talk about the quick recovery of the hotel industry in Rhode Island. And that's true of the southern half of Rhode Island, but that is not true of the city of Providence. The best numbers we had were this August, which was at 66% occupancy. Normally at this time of year, we're at least 80. And as Sarah mentioned in her presentation, we don't expect that upward trend to continue for a bit, because what's holding us together right now is leisure travel, which is weekend stays and coming for waterfire and things like that. But as the year progresses and the weather gets cooler, that's when we typically rely on meetings and conventions. And while they are back, they are not back at 100%. So when you talk about a meeting that would have normally been 2,000 people, you're lucky if it's coming back at 1,000. So that downtown core, that hotel industry, that restaurant industry is still getting hit. So while yes, there are signs of recovery, the recovery is still happening and probably will. Our projections are till about 2024.
Thank you. Well, reading some comments in the chat, we know that the workforce development is a critical area. We already have some suggestion and recommendation, but it's something that everybody need to work on that. Anyone else? We have 5 minutes. So 5 minutes for another opinion. Okay. Well, just as an information and additional information, the Resilience and Recovery Task Force have meetings every Friday at 12 p.m. at the City Hall, Providence. There are meetings open to the public. You can be in person or even you can connect to those meetings. So every Friday, 12 p.m. at the City Hall, Providence. We have some presentation at specific offices, but also we have a space for public comments and intervention. So if you want to attend one of those meetings, you are more than invited. And of course, don't forget the survey. It's the easiest way to give us information. We want to have better information in order to do the right recommendations. It's important to let you know that the task force doesn't make the decision. We don't have the power to make the decision, but we want to provide the better information to those who have that job to make decisions in the city. So help us to help you, because everybody in the community have something to add, something to apport to this discussion, because any decision that will be made will affect everybody. So if we don't have questions or opinions, I think that we can conclude the meeting today. Thank you to the panelists. Thank you to all the people who attended today. Remember the survey, remember the pvdrescueplan.com, and remember that we are open to hear your suggestion. Every member in the task force have been doing a great job and are the point of contact, and all the information is in the website. We have a question in the chat. Who are the decision makers? We will present the recommendation report to the City Council in Providence. They are the decision makers. Everything will be reviewed, and based on the recommendation and the priority that the city has, they will make the final decisions. Okay, so thank you. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you in the next meeting. Thank you.